Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jess and this is my October wrap-up. This was my TBR for October. I had 7 books in total to complete. I completed these top 4. As of right now, I'm about halfway through this one, but I have enough days left in October that I'm sure I will be able to finish it, and I'll be starting this one. I'm not sure how far I'll get into this one. I am listening to it on audiobook, but yeah, hopefully I will have started every single one of these. I'm sure these 2 will carry on over into November, but as of right now, I have finished these 4. I'm almost done with this one, and I'm about to start this one. So the first book on my October TBR that I was able to complete is Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson. So in this book, we follow a girl named Emily, and her best friend Sloane has disappeared and gone missing, and she basically is trying to figure out how she's going to live her life and become this confident person that she never was because she always hid behind Sloane. And so Sloane leaves her this list of 13 things to do that range from kissing a stranger to skinny dipping to picking an apple to all kinds of stuff. And so she takes a whole summer and she decides she's going to complete this list, hoping that it will allow her to find Sloane. And along the way, she meets a boy who helps her out with them, and she falls in love, and she just really learns how to grow and become her own person. So I love this book. I love Morgan Matson's writing. She is one of my favorite contemporary authors. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. The story itself is beautiful. I loved the romance. I loved the character dynamics over the whole group of characters. I loved Emily's growth as a character. It was amazing. I liked it. You should go read it. The second book I was able to complete off of my October TBR was The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. So this is the prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy. It follows President Snow as a young boy living in a capital when he is a mentor for the 5th ever Hunger Games. And I love this book. I think it was so amazing. I'm so happy that she came out with it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I think it was beautiful. I loved how she brought President Snow into the story as a person, because at first you love him and you're like, wow, this is a great kid, how does he turn out so badly? And then something happens at the end that's just like, oh dang, there it is, there's the President Snow we all know and love. And it's just amazing to really see that change and how it came about, because it wasn't a quick change, it was a gradual thing where a lot of things happened. And it's so cool. I also like how she introduced not only President Snow but a lot of other characters in here. We get a glimpse of Tigress. We also get glimpses of, we get a lot of foreshadowing. For instance, I know one specific instance in here where they're in the woods and they're at a lake and they're like, oh, you found a Katniss plant, and you're like, oh, Katniss. And yeah, just little things like that just baffled me, like how she just threw those in there, and I was like, oh, okay, we're saying that now. But yeah, I really liked it. I think it was beautifully written. I loved it. I liked the Hunger Games trilogy, so I definitely enjoyed getting more from that world and seeing more of that process and how the games were hosted back then, because it's a lot different than how they were hosted in the original trilogy. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I think if you're a Hunger Games fan, you should definitely check this out. So the third book I completed in October was Teresa of the New World by Sharmin F. Russell. So this story follows an Indian girl named Teresa who is half Indian and half Spanish. Her father is one of the conquistadors who was shipwrecked on the New World, and he decides in the middle of the night that he wants to try to journey back to Spain. And so he takes her, and when she's like 5 or 6 years old, and they journey off into the night to try to make it back to Spain. And he ends up meeting with these other conquistadors along the way from different villages, and they build this reputation as healers, and they go through all these Indian villages basically ransacking them. And then at the end, her father and the other guys get on a ship and they leave her there. And so she is left in the New World by herself as a slave because she is Native American, and she ends up figuring out she has magical powers, she can talk to animals and to the earth itself, and she has to journey back to wherever she came from, trying to outrun all of the plagues that are coming through, that are sweeping through the New World from the Spanish conquistadors. And yeah, it's a good story. Like I said, I liked the idea of it. I just didn't connect with this book itself. I found myself, it is really short, so it was surprising to me how long it took me to read this, but it was something I didn't want to pick up. I found myself wanting to do other things and not wanting to read it, and it just didn't mesh well with me. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. I think it's written for kids. It's written for like young middle school age. It is really childish writing. I found it really childish and it just bothered me. But if you're into something that is a lot younger, or if you have a kid that you want them to read more like historically based things, still a little bit magical, this is a good book for you. It just was not for me. And the last book I have completed off of my October TBR as of right now was my reread of The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I love this book. I love the world that she creates. I love the atmosphere that she writes. I love the character growth in here. Every single character is amazing, and I feel like every single one is different at the end of this story than they were at the beginning of this story, and that's just wonderful. And I love the way it's done, and I love the way she's able to build that. And it's gloriously written. It's my favorite book of all time. I think everybody should read this at some point in their life, mostly like all classics. I think everybody should try to read as many classics as they can, because they're classics for a reason, and they all have something they can teach us and something that we need to learn. And so yeah, this was amazing. 5 out of 5 stars every single time I read it, and I was happy to get to read this again this month. I have been reading The Good Girl by Mary Kubica, and I'm about halfway through it. I will finish this before October is over, so I am going to talk about it a little bit right here. I am loving this book so far. We get to see from so many different perspectives, and it's a kidnapping story. It's about this girl named Mia who is kidnapped for ransom by this guy named Colin, and he hides her away in this winter cabin in the middle of the woods in Minnesota. And you follow different storylines. So we're following the detective and her mother while they're trying to find her, and we're also following them after they've already found her. So not only we're following different character lines, we're also following different timelines, and it's just really cool to see how everything is kind of coming together and meshing. And I love the way that she wrote this. I think it's like, so far it's really great. I love it. I'm going to continue to read this. Like I said, I will finish it before October ends, so I am going to include it here even though I'm not quite done yet. Now on to the audiobooks I completed during the month of October. The first one was Sabriel by Garth Nix. So in this story we follow a girl named Sabriel who has the powers of the Abhorsen, who in this world is able to, basically their job is to keep the dead, like the world of the dead, separate from the world of the living, and to kind of keep the dead at bay. And they can also help people that have recently died just like travel on through the gates and into the world of the dead. And basically they keep humanity safe. That's their main job, and there's only one at a time, and they can't die unless they have an heir, because you have to have an Abhorsen in order to remain safe and to keep the world going. And so she is training to become the next one, as her father is the current one. And one day she gets called into the world of the dead because her dad has disappeared. And so we follow her as she goes on this quest into the world of death to find her father and try to save him. And we see her really grow and step into her powers, and it's great. There's a really fun romance in here. There's some great characters, and I really enjoyed it. I did, however, give it a 3 out of 5 stars, and that mainly was because through the beginning, it could have just been because I was listening to it on audiobook and not physically reading it, but for the first like 150 to 170 pages, I was confused. I did not know what was going on. I didn't understand the world at all, and it just really, it felt like a lot of buildup, and it was really slow at the beginning. And like I said, if you didn't understand it like right off the bat, you wouldn't know what the heck was going on. And so it took me about 150 to 170 pages to really like grasp the world and figure out what was going on, and okay, this is why they're doing what they're doing kind of thing. But once I figured that out, it was a really good book. I will definitely recommend it. I know I've read some of his books in the past, and I have some on my TBR to read in the future. I will be continuing on with this series. It's on my list of books to get in the future because, like I said, I love the characters and I do want to continue on in this world. This first book just wasn't my favorite. And finally, the last book I picked up in the month of October. I have completed it, and that is Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. This is book 2 of the Stormlight Archives, and they are amazing. I love this series. We follow in multiple perspectives. So the first one we follow is Paladin, who is a soldier who has been turned into a slave, and we see him become a bridgeman in the army, who are basically these people that have to carry the bridges out to cross the plateaus that this war is being fought on ahead of the rest of the army. So they're basically being sacrificed, and they have minimal armor, and they're being sacrificed for the good of the rest of the army, and they're valued as worthless. And so we follow him as he's dealing with these changes. And we also follow a girl named Shallan, who is aspiring to work under the top scholar in this world. However, she has ulterior motives, and she is trying to actually steal something from her, and so we follow that plot line as well. There are a lot of other plot lines in here, but those are the main two. And like I said, it's amazing, it's great. The world that Brandon Sanderson builds is absolutely glorious. His characters are amazing. You love every single one of them for their own reasons. They're so unique, and it's just wonderful. I feel like as a writer, you could go up to Brandon Sanderson and ask him like the smallest, like minute detail about some random thing that happened in this world, or something that maybe not even is mentioned in the book, and he would be able to like tell you like that. Like that's how extensive I feel this world is that he built, and how much thought he put into it, and how much work he put into it, and it really shows in the books. It's wonderfully written. I love this series. I think everybody should go read it. I will be continuing on with book 3 in November, and book 4 comes out this fall. It is going to be a 10-book series. He's releasing one every, I think, 2 years. I think it's 2 years. The book 4 comes out this fall, and so I will be reading 3 in November, and hopefully picking up 4 basically as soon as it comes out. But yeah, everybody should go read this. It's amazing. I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars, and yeah, that is the last book that I completed in October. So those were all the books that I was able to complete in October. Let me know down below what books you completed in October and what you thought about them. Also, let me know if you have read any of these books that I talked about today and what you thought about them as well, because I would love to know. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Yeah, I'll see you later. Bye.